Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Welcome back and nice to have you here. So, I have some news to share with you today. So, let's get started. Here are the news and Concerned Citizens Media comments for February 22, 2021. Oromo political prisoners' hunger strikes continued for the 25th day. So far, no humanitarian gesture or mercy of any kind is offered from their enemies, and their suffering and determination continue in the jail. Mr. Kadir Bullo, lawyer for Jawar Mohammed, Bakala Garba, Hamza Borana, and other Oromo political prisoners, exposed how the Ethiopian justice system has been broken by the country's Attorney General Office and by unidentified higher government authority. The Oromo political prisoners' attorney, Mr. Bullo, said that the Ethiopian Attorney General Office, in coordination with unknown higher authority or authorities, are spinning the cases of his client in the contrary to the rules of law in the country. The judge's order to safeguard the lives of these political prisoners in the hands of their trusted doctors were denied for the fourth time by the country's Attorney General Office and by those who have been controlling these cases from behind. This illegal practice of the Attorney General Office and the unidentified higher authorities are in violation of the country's constitution on the rights and the responsibilities of their own office, the justice system, and that of the political prisoners. As a result of these illegal practices, Mr. Bullo said his clients have been subjected to ill treatment and other grave human rights violations for extended duration in the jail. His clients, such as Jawar Mohammed, Bakala Garba, Hamza Borana, and others, are extremely in life-threatening conditions due to unchallengeable authority or authorities' control of these cases behind the scene. Concerned Citizens Media believe that Abiy Ahmed is responsible for any eventualities may arise from this politically motivated imprisonment and court drama. The Prime Minister is the main plaintiff in these cases. He will be held accountable for all his illegal maneuver of the country's law and order for his personal political gains. It is better to follow the law of the land instead of playing around with the lives of citizens under his custody. You cannot claim law and order operation in Tigray while you are actively breaking it in the center of the country. Attorney General and those manipulating these cases from behind must respect the orders of the judge and allow these citizens to be treated by their own trusted doctors before their precious lives are lost. So doctors want to treat them, but the Attorney General and Abiy he is the one behind spinning everything, and denied the treatment, and even denied their appearance to federal courts. So a lot of law breaking, a lot of breaking of the constitution. Sudan recalled its ambassador from Ethiopia as tension continues. Sudan has recalled its ambassador to Addis Ababa for consultation over Sudan-Ethiopian relation. Sudan's foreign minister spokesman Mansour Boulard told Agence France Presse. The spokesperson said the ambassador will go back to Ethiopia after the consultation is completed. Or at the meantime, Ethiopia's foreign minister, Mr. Dina Mufti, suggested that Ethiopia would welcome Turkish mediation in its border dispute with Sudan. We would be grateful if Turkey offered to play the role of mediation between us, Mr. Mufti added. Mufti said that he believes the conflict could be resolved via diplomatic talks, adding that his country is currently not considering going to war. Concerned citizens media surprised with Abiy Ahmed's level of patience concerning the conflict we have with Sudan, and after Sudan crossed deep into Ethiopia's territory and still pushing forward to capture more land. Where is this kind of patience with the bloodshed we are experiencing among ourselves back home? Credit for this Middle East Monitor. So Ethiopia is patient throughout almost more than a month with the border conflict with Sudan. Sudan is pushing deep into the territories, and Ethiopia is talking diplomatic language and taking time, and sometimes attacking, and these two countries also blaming each other. Sudan blame Ethiopia, and Eritrea attacking them, and Ethiopia is blaming Sudan. So the blaming game is still going on, and so far Ethiopia rejected the mediation, but now I think they are try to accept if Turkey or other country may be okay to mediate between Sudan and Ethiopia. That's a change of mind for some reason. So the Tigray coalition filed a lawsuit against Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia and the dictator of Eritrea, Isais Afewerki, at the International Criminal Court, also known as ICC. This Tigrayan coalition, led by Professor Gelaudios Araya, the head of the Tigrayan coalition, said this lawsuit alleges the war crimes, genocide, crimes against humanity carried out in Tigray by these two individuals and their supporters. Professor Gelaudios Araya also said there is no way out from the crimes they have committed against the Tigrayan people in their illegal war in Tigray region. It is only a matter of time before these two dictators and their collaborators face justice at International Criminal Court. They will be held accountable for their criminal conduct. By the way, this is the second lawsuit brought against Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed at ICC. The first one was brought by the coalition of the Oromos in Netherlands, and it alleges that Abiy Ahmed and his supporters committed genocide war crime and crime against humanity on Oromos on their own land for over 3 years. So this is the second time the lawsuit against Abiy Ahmed in an international criminal court. Let's pray for successful justice for the victims of these grave and widespread human rights violations in Oromia, Tigray, and in other regions under the leadership of Abiy Ahmed. Partial credit for Tigray Media House. So, yes, they filed a lawsuit, and it may take time to, to make them accountable, but it's gonna happen. It's just like it happened against Omar al-Bashir of Sudan. He was accused of war crime in Darfur and other areas, he could not move except Africa regions. If he moved out of Africa, he could be arrested at that time, but fortunately he was deposed from power. So for Abiy Ahmed and the dictator in Eritrea, it's only a matter of time. They will be caught and they will be held responsible for what they're doing in Tigray region and in the Oromia region, and plus Benishangul and other regions. But it's not fast, but it's taking time. Hopefully it will be sooner than later. The two major Oromo political parties in Ethiopia warned the Abiy Ahmed administration and the Prosperity Party Control Election Board about upcoming 6th general election in the country. Oromo Liberation Front and Oromo Federalist Congress leaders demanded that Abiy Ahmed administration and the election board release all the senior political leaders and members from prisons and open all illegally closed offices all over the country to facilitate fair and free election in the country. Under such circumstances, these party leaders said it will be impossible for them to assign candidates, election observers, and to campaign freely for citizens' vote. So, these two political parties warned the ruling party and its election board that they might be forced to consider boycotting this upcoming general election if their concerns are unanswered urgently. Abiy Ahmed and his election board are narrowing the competitors' field by using all possible means to facilitate their own victory in the upcoming election. For example, in Dredoa, in Eastern Hararghe, only Prosperity Party candidate is registered to run in the election. All are discouraged, intimidated, subjected for arrest, and even subjected to assassination. If all these tactics continue, Prosperity Party, which is led by Abiy Ahmed, might be running against itself and declare a win of 100% in the upcoming crucial election. Urgent domestic and global communities remedies are needed to force the ruling party to make this election fair and free for all citizens. So OLF, Oromo Federalist Congress, demanding their office to be open, their members to be released before the election, so they can campaign, register their candidates, and do all the necessary activities for to participate in the election. But if that doesn't happen, that means Prosperity Party want to control the scope, and that will force them, because it's impossible for them to campaign and to get vote while their offices and their members are under the control of Prosperity Party. So it's very tough in that kind of situation. So Concerned Citizens Media is suggesting for domestic domestics in Ethiopians and the global community to put pressure on Abiy Ahmed to let these people released and open the offices, let the field open for all citizens, and have free and fair election. It's better to stop playing the game like TPLF time. TPLF played, that kind of game, and keep declaring 100% or 98 or 99% win, which all are lies. So the campaign is already started in capital city. Some parties, Jimma or this Balderas and others are campaigning, while the big Oromo political parties are staying in jail. It's a tough, very tough situations, very tough time. They just use, they kill Hachalu Nessa, and they use that killing as an excuse to eliminate these potential candidates, to put them in jail and shut down their offices, all this. So we will see. The campaign is already started, and especially in capital city, and also the diaspora community, those supporters of Balderas and Izema are also having rallies today at around 10 a.m. in Washington, D.C. So these are the situations. It's tough for Oromos. Hunger strike, hashtag starving for justice Twitter campaign is ongoing. Organizers of this Twitter campaign encourage all Oromos and their supporters to go to oromocause.com and join the Twitter campaign. The templates for different messages and the intended receivers of these messages are ready for you. Please join the campaign and play your part in raising awareness and the urgently needed attention for all Oromo political prisoners. More than 100,000 tweets are already recorded for this campaign and still adding up. Go ahead and add your voice to stand with all Oromo political prisoners suffering for our causes. So a campaign, a Twitter campaign is going on. You can go Oromo cause.com, and tweet and share that message with friends, families, to tweet more, so to make it successful. So we said that resistance movement goes on in a different angle. Media campaign is one, fundraising is another one, Lagana or boycotting is another one, also armed struggle, supporting armed struggle, engaging in armed struggle, and many forms. So just take part in all front, in all forms, and to make Oromia or that country suitable for all its citizens. So just go ahead and join this Twitter campaign. And Abiy Ahmed is and his supporters are also tweeting, engaged in tweeting. So far they are not successful because they have no truth, but the citizens have cases, and the truth, the suffering, they are exposing all the atrocities to the global community, what is happening in Ethiopia under the Nobel laureate. So they are countering that movement, but they are not successful. The diaspora is moving ahead and getting more voices and exposing Abiy Ahmed and his supporters' crimes, grave human rights violations to the global community. So it's already known. It's only a matter of time that what action the European Union, the United States, and others, the United Nations, all they are talking about Ethiopia, and they are asking what can be done to change the course in that country. So continue campaigning, social campaigning, continue contributing, continue rallying. And I know one is coming in Washington, D.C. on 25th of February. So it's whoever can attend should attend. Do whatever to win this war. Okay, let's continue. Sheik Anwar Yusuf received a red carpet welcoming ceremony in Limo Gosa, Jimma, Oromia, as he paid a visit to the region from Nairobi, Kenya. Sheik Anwar is very popular sheikh. He teach Quran and religion in a nice way. He's very, very smart, and he has a talent to attract youngsters. So he's in Jimma, Oromia, and it's interesting. The welcoming, the gathering of the people for him is just big. Thousands and thousands of local residents and senior Oromia region religious scholars, including Oromia Religion Muslim Affairs President Sheikh Haji Ibrahim, also Sheikh Amin Ibro is there. However, this huge gathering ignored about the thousands and the thousands of Oromos suffering under Abiy Ahmed administration. Nothing was mentioned about the senior Oromo political prisoners such as Jawar Mohammed, Baqqala Garba, Hamza Borana, Abdi Raggasa, and others who are on hunger strike for all Oromos causes. These prisoners deserve at least our prayers. These organizers even attempted to direct uses attention to development. But development cannot be carried out and be successful when the region is bleeding every day under the command posts and prosperity cadres. When the Muslim religion and its leadership were under attack during TPLF-controlled administration, all Oromos stood against it and contributed a lot for their freedom. So, such silence must end, and all should stand up against the system which has been destroying the region and its people. So that is my comment for residents of Jimma. I know they may consider Abiy Ahmed their home son. That's why I see some, cover up. So even if he is your son, if he make mistake, if he's killing other Oromos, if he's arresting other Oromos, you have to stand against him. So they have to change the attitudes. I see they just praising him, because he is from, he claimed he is from Jimma. So that should be changed. Jimma, you have to consider for the other regions, the other brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers suffering under this guy. So they should have used that opportunity, just like Jimma University student guy. They should have used and expose what is happening in that country, and instead of silence, being silent, stay silent, and praising Abiy Ahmed, and controlling the youth, the youth to stay in place, not to do anything, controlled by security guards and other covers, plus all these religious guys. It seems they are in a country in a stable situation. No one is in jail, no one is on hunger strike, no one is arrested. It seems like that for them. That is wrong. It should be corrected to bring total freedom in Oromia. Oromos must unite, not divided by just minor benefit or because he is from Jimma. So that's a comment from concerned citizens. Controversial conservative radio talk host Rush Limbaugh passed away on Wednesday, February 17, 2021 at age 70 following the battle with cancer. Rush Limbaugh was born in Cape Girardeau, Missouri in 1951, and he worked as a radio host known as the Rush Limbaugh Show for over 3 decades and claimed to have more than 50 million loyal listeners. Rush repeatedly bragged about himself on his show by saying, Doctor of Democracy. He claimed himself as a Doctor of Democracy. However, he was the most racist, anti-immigrant, and anti-minority. he played a major role in the Birther movement, which was intended to disqualify former President Barack Obama from running for the White House, claiming Obama was not born in the United States. He was born in Kenya, you know, the Birther movement. He and his supporters, including former President Donald Trump, were not successful in their effort to disqualify Obama from running for the White House and leading the nation for 2 successful terms. They did everything to trash Obama, to disqualify Obama, day and night, including President Trump and Rush Limbaugh. He is not born here. He is, born in Kenya, requesting birth certificate, all trashing, all. So they were not successful. Obama beat them, and he showed them, he is American citizens, and he won 2 times. And they were shouting. Rush Limbaugh was the whole 8 years was against him, but he was not successful. Obama did what he's supposed to do. Rush Limbaugh also played an advancing former President Donald Trump's lies, conspiracies, and election fraud, and finally in encouraging the January 6th Capitol Hill insurrections. This is for 2020 election. He did his part. All their attempts failed again, and Biden successfully sworn as the President of the United States. Rush Limbaugh, survived by his wife Catherine Adam Limbaugh, just for humanity purpose. Concerned Citizens Media says Rush Limbaugh rest in peace, just for the humanity, not for his conduct and for his anti-immigrant, anti-racist, all bad stuff against immigrant, against women. He's a tough. Sometimes I listen to him. He's a tough guy to listen. All anti-immigration, anti-racist, anti-woman, all bigot. So, just for humanity, rest in peace. Okay, this is the last one for reading. Iraqi Muqtada al-Sadr warned of looming normalization with Israel. He warned the Iraqi parliament. Leaders of the Iraqi Sadrist movement and prominent Shia clerk Muqtada al-Sadr said that his movement will not allow normalization at the door, and the parliament must prevent this. We will not allow normalization at all, even if it costs us blood, al-Sadr told reporters in southern city of Najaf. Iraq does not officially recognize Israel, and there are no relationship between the two sides. In October 2017, the Iraqi parliament passed a resolution prohibiting raising the Israeli flag and punishing violators with imprisonment. Last year, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco signed normalization deal with Israel. I reported on this, how they signed. Most of them pushed around, not voluntarily signed, pushed around. UAE, offered weapon purchase by Trump administration, but Biden cancelled it. And Sudan was offered the removal from the state sponsor of terrorism list. That is for signing, for recognizing Israel, and offered financial assistance. Morocco also allowed to control some land. There is a land dispute over there, so they allowed to control. So yes, attempting to formalize relationship between countries should be done diplomatically, through diplomacy, which is good, but not through bribes. I opposed it at the time. I reported on it. Bribing to get diplomatic relationship. I don't think it's a lasting solution, but they did. So Muqtadar al-Sadr is Iraq, Asia. He don't want to have relationship with Israel for some reason, maybe for their violation of against Palestinians. It should be resolved, and that their stand. And so that's the reading part, and let's see. I have just very short videos, then I will conclude today's presentation. Okay. Okay. Here we go. These are the selections for today. One.
Because Egypt has warned Turkey against intervention in Ethiopia-Sudan dispute. In an interesting development, at least 2 Egyptian MPs have spoken. They are warning Turkey against intervention in Ethiopia-Sudan dispute. Because in my yesterday's video, I informed you about Dina Mufti, Ethiopian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, visiting Turkey. Reportedly, Ethiopia requested Turkey to intervene in Ethiopia-Sudan dispute. But today, Mustafa Bukhari, Ala Issam Al-Judi, 2 Egyptian members of parliament, in their interviews spoke about this development. Al-Judi says Turkey must remember red lines which Egypt drew in Libya. And if Turkey intervened in Ethiopia-Sudan dispute, it would face consequences, dire consequences. So what happened in Libya? Well, in Libya, viewers, Turkey was backing GNA, Government of National Accord, led by Prime Minister Sarraj. UAE, Russia, and Egypt were backing Eastern Libyan government of General Khalifa Haftar. When Turkey intervened in Libya, GNA was on the verge of collapse, viewers, and Tripoli, capital city of Libya, was under siege by Eastern Libyan forces, LNA forces, backed by Egypt, UAE, and Russia. Turkey intervened. Its drones, its military equipment made a difference. Eastern Libyan forces had to withdraw, viewers, and almost entire Western Libya came under the control of GNA, Government of National Accord, led by Sarraj, Prime Minister, backed by Turkey. After taking control of large parts of western Libya, Turkey and GNA announced to launch offensive on Sirte and Al-Jufra in Libya. Sirte and Al-Jufra are almost entry points between eastern and western Libya. Egypt shares border with eastern Libya. Egypt announced that if Turkey and GNA launched offensive on Sirte and Al-Jufra, it would deploy its military equipment in Libya in support of LNA, Lebanese army. So Turkey had to withdraw, viewers. GNA had to withdraw from launching offensive on Sirte and Al-Jufra. But Turkey succeeded in making GNA take control of almost entire western Libya. So that is what Judy is talking about. He's saying that just like Egypt succeeded in maintaining red lines of Sirte and Al-Jufra in Libya, in the same way Sudan is also a red line for Egypt. Turkey will not be allowed to intervene in Sudan-Ethiopia dispute. Secondly, Judy says that Ethiopia is looking for those countries which have hostilities with Arab countries. So according to Al-Judi, Ethiopia is looking for those non-Arab countries which are hostile to Arab countries. Arab countries like Egypt, Sudan, UAE, Saudi Arabia. Lastly, he says that Turkey wants to take revenge on Sudan. Turkey wanted to establish a military base in Sudan. During the tenure of Umar al-Bashir, Turkey negotiated about the establishment of a military base in Sudan. Reportedly, Umar al-Bashir agreed. After Umar al-Bashir was overthrown by Abdul Fattah al-Sisi, the new government of Sudan decided against the establishment of a Turkish military base in Sudan. That is why, according to Al-Judi, Egyptian MP, Turkey wants to take revenge on the current government of Sudan by backing Ethiopia. That's what happens. Let's see how Turkey responds. Thanks for watching.
Tens of thousands of demonstrators filled the streets in Myanmar to protest former civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi's trial, which began this week in secret. Protesters have been calling for the reinstatement of democracy since the military launched a coup on February 1st. And as Nick Schifrin reports, the protesters in Myanmar are also demanding a society that ignores their new military rulers.
At secret locations across Myanmar, healthcare workers who used to work for the government now say they work for the people.
This will be a great trouble for the military to control this kind of civil disobedience movement. It's the kind of protesting not obeyed and orders prescribed by the military.
This doctor asked us to withhold his name for security reasons. He's on strike from a government hospital and instead treating anti-coup protesters. And he says the doctor's strike is only the beginning.
If the health systems fail and shut down, they might get a lot of problems. We started the movement and ask every ministry and other departments to join us to make a bigger, stronger society movement.
Hundreds of thousands of public servants are on strike as part of the Civil Disobedience Movement, or CDM. They defy military limits on gatherings to launch the country's largest protests in more than 10 years. Firefighters created their own fire brigades. Engineers stopped constructing buildings. When the real police arrived to arrest the doctors, citizen police rushed into the street to protect them, and teachers refused to teach in government schools.
Teachers, lawyers, as well as doctors, they're people we learn from, people who guide us in life.
Eamon Thant is a Burmese journalist who was part of a Reuters team that won a Pulitzer Prize for stories critical of the Burmese military that landed 2 of its reporters in prison. She says the civil disobedience movement is targeting the states and military's foundations. Protesters heard the military might seize money from banks, so they blocked the central bank and called on bank staff to join the movement. Protests also try to prevent the junta from collecting taxes.
Things that really directly impact the any government's ability to govern and enact their policy and fund what they're doing.
What the military is doing is reversing Myanmar's fragile democracy. The February 1st coup declared a state of emergency and installed army leader Min Aung Hlaing for at least a year. Democratic leader Aung San Suu Kyi is now in house arrest and facing charges that could lead to years of imprisonment. And now the junta is beginning to use violence. In southern Myanmar, police fired rubber bullets. In the north, soldiers fired to disperse the crowd. And this week, for the first time since protests began, soldiers appeared on the streets in armored vehicles. The military spokesman claims civil servants are being manipulated.
We found out that the protesters are inciting the violence and illegally pressuring civil servants. The protesters have become violent rather than peaceful.
But we've seen this resistance and crackdown before. 1988 uprisings against the government were met with a massacre that killed thousands of protesters. But today's Myanmar is less isolated. And young people reluctant to give up democratic gains are more connected and creative. This week there were breakdancing protesters, musician protesters who played a well-known anthem of resistance, and young men who wanted to infuse the protests with some muscle. Many younger protesters want more than the coup's reversal. They want a new founding document that removes the military's power, says Thant.
There is a contingency who their main demand is the release of Aung San Suu Kyi, like a return to status quo. And then there's another contingency that says, no, that is much more on the side of a more radical change.
As night falls, protesters bang on pots and pans, a tradition to ward off evil spirits. Hundreds of miles away in Bangladesh, Muslim Rohingya refugees express solidarity. Myanmar's ethnic minorities are especially vulnerable, and no minority has suffered the military's wrath more than the Rohingya. And civilian leaders have not held the military to account. In 2017, Suu Kyi defended the military after the UN accused it of genocide.
There's one other reason that military could have a coup was because they have been enjoying the impunity for the crimes that they have committed over the several decades.
Wei Wei Nu is a Rohingya activist and former political prisoner. She calls for that radical change, a post-coup Myanmar that decentralizes authority to give ethnic minorities more autonomy.
A more inclusive democracy where we embrace our diversity and we assure rights of the people regardless of their ethnicity or a religion. One way to address is to basically draft in a new inclusive, truly federal democratic constitution.
Last week, President Biden sanctioned top Myanmar generals and froze $1 billion of their assets in the U.S. It's a 180 from the last time senior Biden officials were in charge of Myanmar policy. In 2010, the country tentatively opened. In 2011, Suu Kyi met Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In 2012, President Obama became the first sitting U.S. president to visit, and the U.S. lifted sanctions. Today, the military is back in charge, and protesters want the Biden administration to go further and do what the people have done, go around the junta and deal only with civilian leadership. The same day Biden's sanctions were announced, healthcare workers shut down their clinic for fear the military would intimidate patients. But the doctor we spoke to says civil disobedience will continue.
Just listen, the voice of the people, because this is the country that we own. We all need to get our voices louder than a small group of the military people.
The military, though small, holds the levers of power, but it's outnumbered by protesters who hope to reduce that leverage by creating a society that's run by the people. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.
Almost every American family knows the pain when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious illness. Here tonight is a special man, beloved by millions of Americans, who just received a stage 4 advanced cancer
Rush Limbaugh
diagnosis. This is not good news, but what is good news is that he is the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Rush Limbaugh. thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country. Rush, in recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
He was shocked to hear that.
I will now ask the First Lady of the United States to present you with the honor, please.
Okay, that's the closing video. Thanks to the AP and PBS and other my view. So the one thing we have to learn from Myanmar or from Burma protesters, very important, is their resistance is inclusive. That's very important. What we see in Ethiopia so far is Kero and Kare, or the youth. Yes, that's encouraging, but to bring change, the movement must be inclusive. In the diaspora community, yeah, it's much better, it's inclusive, but back home, no, we need more. We need more teachers, doctors participating and treating protesters, stopping the government job, musicians, other civil servants joining the movement. This is very essential, you know, the model we have to learn from Burma or Myanmar protesters. Very, very important. So spread, share this news with Oromos back home. Here we have to make our resistance inclusive. You know, teachers, doctors, pharmacists, farmers, mothers, fathers should join the movement. Religious sheikhs, you know, the one I reported on Jimma, that's discouraging. Just focusing on the religion. Well, the country is suffering. Well, the people are suffering on hunger strike. Thousands are in jail. rape is common. When the country is suffering, they celebrate. It's okay to welcome Sheik Anwar Yusuf. Good, but don't forget, people are suffering. People are dying under the command post. So don't ignore. Don't think that's because your son is holding the power, you should ignore the suffering of Oromos. So all of us should join, including professionals, merchants, musicians, fathers, mothers, all. Then the suffering will be over quicker in that way, with inclusive effort. So that is the lesson we have to learn from Burma for our movement, and that will be the closing. Thank you for your time, and comment, share, subscribe to the Concerned Citizens Media so we can expand it, we can grow it together. And if you have newsworthy item, you can email me at birke663@gmail.com if you have any news or videos. So that's all I have for today. Thank you again. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, sharing with friends, families, so we can make Concerned Citizens Media a public voice, a voice for freedom, justice, equality for all Oromos and for all other impacted citizens in that country. So long everyone, until next video.